presentation from the Accelerate program, Key Trends for 2014. Today's presenter is Elonide Semmes, President of RightHat LLC. Elonide is going to be talking about From Firm Ground to Quicksand, how law firm branding will become even more complex in 2014. Today's presentation is one of a series of 8 short webinar-style presentations, each addressing a key trend we believe is coming in 2014. After they've been recorded, they're made available on the Legal Marketing Think Tank website at legalmarketing.org/thinktank. As I said, today's presenter is Elonide Semmes, President of RightHat LLC. She's going to be presenting on law firm branding. It used to be that Martindale-Hubbell directory listings, club memberships, and a quarterly printed newsletter were the only marketing tools you needed. But even in just the past 5 years, with smartphones, tablets, and social media, everything has changed. In 2014, these trends will accelerate, making the challenge of branding, well, yet more challenging. Elonide describes this trend and gives 3 powerful techniques to avoid sinking into the branding quicksand. If you choose to use social media to comment on today's presentation, please do so using the hashtags Accelerate and Brand. And now over to Elonide. Thank you.
Thank you. Today we wanted to share some of the trends that we are seeing impact law firms. These trends are not only isolated to large firms, but rather many of these are practices being adopted by both boutique and regional firms. The first is what we call true alignment of the brand. There's probably no more timely example of brand alignment outside law than the recent announcement by CVS that they would no longer sell tobacco products. Desirous of being seen as a healthcare company, not a general drugstore, CVS is willing to forego $2 billion a year of tobacco sales. And if you look carefully, their shift to align their brand around healthcare can be seen throughout CVS. And notice, next time you go by a CVS store, you may see a minute clinic where you can get a flu shot or be checked for a common illness without an appointment. CVS is working hard to align every part of their brand with their brand promise of helping people on their path to a better health. So how does that translate to law firms? First, we are seeing that law firms finally recognize that branding is not a marketing function. Branding is a firm function. Branding teams used to include marketing and some attorneys, but now the strongest branding teams have members from finance, IT, HR, facilities, and business development. These teams are part of the core branding team, not just called in for their little piece. And these brand teams scrutinize every touch point of the brand, the challenge being not to get defensive in the process. And when we talk about touch points, we are talking about the experience. What do you feel as a prospect when you go to your firm's website, or get a memo from an attorney, or even apply for a job? So firms are increasingly mapping out each touch point and identifying the weakest points, making major and minor changes. For example, your website might be fine, but your invoices, are they timely and customized? And what happens if people call your firm seeking help without a name? The key is to be relentless and take a fresh eye at scrutinizing every single touch point of your firm's brand. You may not be able to fix them all overnight, but you need a roadmap of what should be fixed. The second trend is that analysts are not just for investment banks. Investment banks have long realized that their top deal makers could not be expected to parse every industry inside and out, so analysts play a critical role. So we now see firms that are serious about going to market with an industry focus having true analysts on board. These analysts get inside an industry in such a deep way that they can help the lawyers with trend spotting, competitor moves, as well as identifying the best target companies to go after. Their insight is used to make sure the firm is attuned to service needs, and it causes firms to change their practices accordingly. And needless to say, all of this flows into what goes on your website, onto social media, and into your thought leadership program. Content is still king to prove expertise, but large and smaller firms alike struggle with taking an attorney out of the billable hour role to work on a white paper or a speech. So content creation is now routinely outsourced, and only fine-tuned by lawyers. This saves an immense amount of time and enables firms to get to market faster with their thinking. And some of the strongest thought leadership pieces are being done now by journalists, not lawyers. And one great way to make this go more smoothly is to audio tape a lawyer explaining a new regulation or landmark decision. That audio recording serves as a rough draft. And then a journalist only needs to make it more cohesive and powerful for print. When the piece goes back to the lawyer for final review, we find far fewer changes, and it's essentially captured the right voice from the very beginning. And to make content even stronger, we see firms getting serious about editorial calendars, not just for 1 year, but for 2. These editorial calendars are meant to ensure that thought leadership matches up with the strategic goals of the practice and the needs of the buyers are well addressed throughout the year. It helps make content go from being purely ad hoc and reactive to being supportive of the business development strategies. Having an editorial calendar generally means content is just of a higher quality. And many firms are going one step further and creating editorial panels that include clients and friends of the firm. These editorial panels bring an outside perspective and fresh ideas. The next rapidly moving trend that we've seen in savvy middle market law firms is a true embracing of globalization. An international focus is increasingly being used to both go where clients go and to take advantage of inroads a particular firm might have in one international market. One of the most exciting trends is that firms are investing in their lawyers learning to speak international, even if they have no geographical footprint. So firms are gathering information on the foreign activities and interests of their top 50 or 100 clients. They are making sure that for each of those clients, they know where they are selling outside the U.S. and what their legal needs are, joint venture agreements, distribution agreements, and they're forging strong correspondent relationships to support those legal needs. In addition, key international marketing consultants like Lee Dance, who is located in Europe, are helping U.S. law firms fast forward their efforts through marketing materials that make sense outside the U.S. Firms are increasingly targeting inbound work to the U.S. by country. So rather than try to take on all of the EU or Asia, they're cherry-picking countries with significant outbound work. And how are they doing this? 2 of the most common ways include active participation in trade missions sponsored either by their state or a trade association. And those firms with a significant number of native speakers from a country with high U.S. legal needs are actively marketing the ability for companies to do business in their own language rather than defaulting to English. And finally, law firm global alliances are not boondoggles, but powerful tools. So the networks, such as LexMundi, TerraLex, and others, are really being used to level the playing field. We predict these alliances will increasingly become a differentiator for their members as they accelerate collaboration and sharing of knowledge. The next trend is hyperconnectivity. Boy, is it real. And we've seen firsthand how firms are using the shifts in how inside counsel connect with law firms to their advantage. One aspect of hyperconnectivity is the explosive use of mobile devices. LinkedIn reports that in the 3rd quarter of 2013, 38% of LinkedIn visitors access their site through a mobile device. And we see the same pattern in law firm websites. Whereas inside counsel may not have looked at a blog in the evening, back when we were tethered to laptops or desktops, they now look at content at all times of day on their tablet as they commute on a train or sit in an airport. So it's imperative to make sure your firm's information can easily be viewed regardless of device. In addition to mobile devices permeating our everyday, LinkedIn has gained amazing traction over the last 3 years. The Zeughauser Group and Green Target conducted a survey in 2013 of how inside counsel used new media. What they found were some powerful numbers. 40% of respondents used LinkedIn in the last 24 hours, 67% in the last week. And this was not just to look for a job, as so many lawyers think, but to look for information and deepen professional networks, particularly through the rise of industry groups on LinkedIn. In the same study, blogs were found to be the preferred and influential news source, and Wikipedia is rising as a trusted business resource, not just for personal use. So all of you out there, check your Wikipedia listing. Social media will continue to level the playing field, allowing niche experts to get their voices out there and allowing savvy, smaller firms to carve out memorable positions in the marketplace. In 2013, we saw more and more firms come to the table armed with metrics. Google Analytics or your social media analytics are worthless without truly mining them. Firms of all sizes are really getting this. In fact, for the first time, we've started to see full-time data miners in-house, where each week they take the data and fine-tune everything from which news articles are linked throughout a website to what is being blasted through social media. They are setting goals and standards and educating lawyers by using the numbers, the actual facts, as to what works and what doesn't work. If that seems overwhelming, and if there's no chance to have a dedicated data miner, start small. Some of the best efforts we've seen are when firms just pick 5 key metrics to look at weekly, and they take action on at least 2 each week, explain the action to lawyers, and make it a habit. And the final trend that is really taking over is the idea that culture makes the brand. It's really, this is a variation on where I started this talk. But living the brand requires daily reinforcement. And it doesn't stop with the brand launch. So what we're finding firms doing is culture teams, like brand teams, are starting to pop up. Firms are understanding the power of building culture and how that really impacts the bottom line. One of the ways to be inspired on new ways to build culture and reinforce the brand day in and day out is to look to other corporations on how they live their brand. We've all heard a lot about Ritz-Carlton and their service mantra and how every single employee is empowered to make the experience exceptional. In addition, they've set their goal to be the gold standard of hospitality. And there are tremendous lessons to be learned from no-frills Southwest Airlines. Their mantra, we always try to do the right thing, and more recently, if it matters to you, it matters to us, permeates the experience of traveling with them and leads to the simple fact they have less complaints than other airlines. But as I close out this presentation, I encourage each of you to dig deeper for best practices on living the brand in your law firm each day. For those that feel hospitality and travel are easier to build culture, as travel inherently is a bit more fun than master limited partnerships or litigation, think again, look further. DaVita is the largest provider of kidney dialysis worldwide. DaVita was originally named Total Renal Care, but they changed to DaVita, which means giving life in Italian. And looking at this photo, you might be wondering why they have a statue in front of one of their offices dressed like a Three Musketeer. They take very seriously their core value of teamwork, and we all hear teamwork as a core value for many of our law firms. But their core value, one for all and all for one. And rather than having it be dry and a dull promise to employees, they use the Three Musketeers to get their point across in a joyous but determined way. If we look at their core values, you'll see that many of these core values are similar to other ones we've seen over time. But take, for example, the service excellence. Serving others is a reason for existing. They demonstrate that every day by having throughout their company photographs of the individuals they've helped with dialysis. And in terms of fun, they basically have things like photo booths in their lobby so that employees can take a picture of themselves, silly photo, and send it to someone else. And their cafeteria is on the top floor with stunning views of the Rockies, so that before you go back to work, you have a chance to enjoy where they actually work. And remember, DaVita is all about kidney dialysis, not generally the most upbeat of subjects, but they make it serious. And DaVita, since when it was founded in 1999, has grown to be a Fortune 500 company, so they're doing something right. So 2014 will undoubtedly bring more change and new trends to the legal industry, and we look forward to reporting again next year on what we see. But if you take only one takeaway from here, it's to stand back and really look at what other industries are doing and how you may be able to help your firms live the brand each and every day.
Thank you so much, Elonide, and that concludes our presentation for today.